I am Rob from iTech Pickers, and today I'm gonna talk a little bit about travel scams. This discussion about travel scams actually it's going to be an ongoing series. Um, I'm gonna call it travel scams number one, travel scams discussion number one. But it's going to be a series. Because scammers they like to improve all the time, and we want to keep updated on all the new scams. So I will regularly make update videos about other scams and new scams. So this is just discussion number one. So I guess what better way to start is well, when you arrive into a new country or just some other country where you're going, is the first type of scam that you're going to be faced with are those taxi drivers. Because you're going to arrive at the airport, and a lot of the times you're going to have to take a taxi to go to your hotel. Now, right there, you are probably going to be a target because those taxi drivers, well, they're going to see you. They know that you're arriving into the country, so they know that you are a foreigner. And of course, if you look like a foreigner, they'll see that. If you're white, um, these are obvious things. So what they'll do is that they have all kinds of tricks that they're gonna play on you because they want you to pay a lot more than what the regular fare is for the taxi. Uh, I've seen um, I've seen rigged meters. So I mean, it's not that you can't even trust the meter because some of them have rigged meters. But most of the time, they won't want to use the meter. They will say, "Oh, the meter doesn't work," or they'll try to get you to pay a fixed rate to go to your hotel. But I can tell you for a fact that this fixed rate is going to be way more expensive than if you had used the meter. Um, so you need to prepare in advance when you're going into a country. You need to think about how you are going to get to your hotel from the airport. All right. Uh, I know, for example, in the Philippines, like you can't take a taxi there without getting ripped off. Um, it's unbelievable. The If you look at the news, if you look on the internet, you will see people who have filmed their taxi driver, and they have gotten ripped off, like charged like 5, 10 times the price for a taxi. So really, like in the Philippines, I would say like never use a taxi because as a tourist, you're gonna get ripped off. That's for sure. Um, so no matter where you're going, you really need to think about what your transportation is going to be, and you need to be prepared in advance. Um, yeah. So the most major scam and the first one you'll encounter when you travel are taxi drivers trying to rip you off. So you need to basically you need to look on the internet and find ways to not have to deal with this problem when you arrive in whichever city you've decided to go. I would say um, in now today we are lucky we have services like Uber and Grab. Grab being mostly in Asian countries now they have Grab. In other countries there's Uber, and I think I've heard about Lyft. These are the internet apps that you can have to get a driver, and these fortunately this is a solution because when you use these services, the drivers they have a fixed rate that you can see, so you know how much it's gonna cost you, and basically you only pay that price, and you go to your destination, and it's the safest way today to get a driver to go somewhere. Uh, Especially in the Philippines, I would say like use Grab, don't use taxis. I've I've never had any problem with any Grab drivers down there. But I would say like almost every taxi driver tried to rip me off. So I would say like use be prepared to use these services, and you can, if you know the ropes, you can use them right when you arrive at the airport to go to your hotel. There's usually a designated area where you can call a Grab or Uber driver in every airport. You only have to look on the internet. So that's my first tip to not get scammed. Is to be very careful about the kind of transportation you take when you go into another country. Um, so that's the first tip. And you gotta remember when you arrive into another country, um especially if you're from one of these Western countries like Canada, the U.S., Australia, um, and many of the European countries, uh, the the community there is not the same as it is in your country. See, in our countries, we are pretty much multiculturalistic countries, which means that there are people of different cultures or racial backgrounds all mixed together. So it's sometimes it's difficult to know who's a real citizen of the country or who's a tourist. But in most other countries in the world, the people there they all have the same racial background. They all pretty much look the same. So when you arrive there, they can see you right away by the way you look that you're a foreigner. So you become a target right away. In many countries around the world, if you're white, you arrive there, you're the white guy. You're a foreigner, so you are a target. So obviously, you need to know that. Uh, when you're walking down the street and you have like people coming up to you and say, "Hey, my friend, where you from?" So they're targeting you. They know that you're from somewhere else. So of course, when anybody come that you don't know comes up to you like this, asks you where you're from, that means that person wants to get something from you. Okay, so you need to be prepared, and also you need to build a tough skin. Um, and you should not allow people to like grab your bag or shake your hand and stuff like this without your prior approval. Um, Now, whenever I go, when someone comes up to me that I don't know and wants to shake my hand, I don't shake his hand. I choose to shake hands with people, and if someone that I don't know wants to shake my hand, I just don't. And when I go to places and someone wants to grab my bag and help me with my bags, if I haven't asked them to do so, I don't let them because, of course, they're trying to carry my bags because they want to get some money after that. If I want to hire someone, I always tip. I always pay people that I hire to do things. But if I haven't hired him to grab my bags, then no way, you don't grab my bag. Um, so that's it. So if we come back to of course, now that we're talking about bags and we were talking about the taxis. Uh, I would say if you decide to take a taxi and everything is fine, one thing you should always do when, especially if you're a solo traveler, you take a taxi. Don't ever put your bags in the trunk. Keep the bags with you on the back seat. And the reason is that there are some reports of people who have taken rides, and when they arrive at the destination, they pay the driver, and their bags are in the trunk. They go out of the car, and then the taxi just leaves, fly, with their bags, and now they have no idea which taxi it was and what they're gonna do to get their bags back. So always, that's a trick that I'm telling you. If you're taking a taxi from the airport, keep your bags with you in the seat. Don't put them in the trunk, okay? Because there's always that chance that you go out of the taxi, you pay the driver, and he just speeds away with your bags. So that's a good trick, you know. So that's pretty much that's pretty much all about the taxis and the modes of transportation. Uh, mm, plan your trip. You're going to a city. Just ask yourself, how am I gonna get to my hotel from the airport when I arrive? And you should think about that first. Uh, Also, I will tell you, most scams. I've heard about a lot of scams, travel scams, and most of them prey on the fact that you've got goods and services that do not have a set price tagged on them. If you're going into markets, if you're gonna get any kind of a good or service, you should always look at the price of the things first. And if there is no clear price tag on whatever you're buying, that should be a red flag. Uh, and the way I deal with that is that if there is no price tag on something, I will make a price in my head, and that would always be lower than what I would really pay. Um, because I don't really respect that. Because when when people are selling goods and services and they're not putting a very clear price tag on the thing, is that they're trying to maybe assess uh, if you're gonna pay more than what it's really worth, and basically they're trying to scam you in a way. So you should always assess that if you're going into markets, if you're whenever you're gonna pay for any kinds of services or goods, you should always assess the price before you do the transaction. I've seen some videos of scams on YouTube where there are restaurants with menus, and the menus don't have any prices on them. And what happens is that you're gonna have maybe some tourists. Uh, they're gonna go there and order a meal, and they're gonna eat, and then afterwards, since there was no price on the menu, then these restaurant scammers, they're gonna try to charge them like $50 for a $5 meal. Uh, and what can the people do after that? They the there's no price written anywhere, so that's how they get stupid tourists, they fool tourists. So really, don't get any good, any service without being fully aware of the price beforehand, because that's most major scams are built around this, but around these floating prices. Um, and most reliable businesses or service providers, they're going to tell you the price right away before you decide to deal with them. So this, you really need to look for this. So another type of scam are the pickpockets and the thieves. And really, you shouldn't try to be smarter than them because they will probably outsmart you no matter how smart you think you are. Um, so you need to think about that before you go into another country. Now, if you have a big gold chain around your neck, some thief is gonna try to get it from you. If you even I would say like gold rings, you're gonna be a target. In most countries on the planet, you really shouldn't wear gold at all because you're gonna be a target for the thieves. So think about that. And as far as pickpockets, you know, try to buy a money belt. Don't keep significant amounts of money in your pockets because you're a target, and some thieves are very good at that. And of course, I would say like if you are a single lady traveling around the world, you should definitely find a way to carry your valuables without using a purse because that's you're gonna be an easy target for thieves. They're just gonna grab your purse and run away with it. And there are I hear of so many stories of girls that have had their purse stolen from them. It's ridiculous. So yeah, about that. And lastly, I think it's not really a scam in itself, but it's the beggars. Now, in some countries, you will not meet any beggars, like Japan. I've never seen one beggar in Japan from all the time I've been there. But in many other countries, you're going to be confronted with beggars everywhere you go. And of course, again, you're a target. And you're going to be a target to the beggars. Now, one thing you'll realize after a while is that the beggars are professionals. They do things to look poorer than they really are, and they try to play with your feelings and create sympathy. A lot of the times, the beggars, they will carry a baby with them, and pretend that they need money to feed the baby, and that baby, gets passed around by the beggars. They just go out, they carry the baby, and they use the baby as a prop to get more money. So I think you need to build a tough skin about beggars, and you really need to find a way on how you're gonna deal with them because there's no way you can have enough money to give money to every beggar that's gonna come up to you. And when you give them money, usually you will attract the other beggars. You will say, "Oh, this person gives money, so let's just go," and you're gonna attract more and more beggars. So it's like a bottomless barrel. Uh, so one thing you realize, beggars, no matter what kind of uh, game they're playing, they are professionals, and they're trying to play on your feelings. And most of them are not poor at all. In fact, they make more money begging than the honest working folk. So I would say just don't give them because you're gonna give them the impression that they can keep doing that. So yeah, you need to build a tough skin, and if you want to travel around the world, you need to basically learn to disregard or simply ignore a lot of stuff. Uh, Look at the people in these countries. They'll go around, do their things, and they will totally ignore whatever is not part of their plan for the day. So you need to start ignoring people, and you need to start you need to build a tough skin basically. So it's not really that easy to travel around the world. Um if you're too nice, you're gonna get abused by a lot of people. So you're gonna be targeted. So these are gonna be the tips for today. Uh, please subscribe to my channel, and I'm gonna come back regularly with this travel scams around the world discussion, and we're gonna discuss more scams. So I'm Rob from I Take Pickers, and see you soon.